Ride bikes and also find other women from their own community to ride with, including women who might ride in hijab or in abaya. One of the things that never gets old when you teach people to ride bikes is the sheer thrill they get when they realise they can do it.
The really special thing about teaching both the women in Fawkner and the women here is just the cultural barriers that they face every day, and coming from a place where they never thought they'd ever be able to ride a bike. A lot of them do reflect that it's been their lifelong dream to ride a bike, but they never thought they'd be able to do it. So it's just that extra level of being able to gift that to somebody.
I got really excited when I heard about this program. I'm almost 40 and I've never ridden a bike. I tried when I was little. Yeah, I still can't believe that I can ride, and yeah, it's been a dream and I'm so glad that it came true.
It was excellent, very special experience for me because it was my childhood wish to learn how to ride a bike.
Yeah, my experience was great because I've never ridden the bike before. So it was like truly empowering for me, and I thought I can't ever learn, but Kaz was really patient and encouraging.
At this age, it's a really courageous thing to learn new things, and any age, anyone can do it if they want it, and willingness is the most important things, and that's I prove myself.
I think it's good health-wise as well as environmentally. It gives me some physical activity to incorporate into my daily routine. I think it was great to find other people like me who have recently learned to ride, and we are all well connected now.
Yeah, after so many years, I'm very grateful to have this opportunity and have Cass and Faith with us, and they've been amazing, amazing teachers. Everybody should give it a go and see for themselves how easy it is. Yeah, because I never thought I could, and I'm able to do it now.
The compost that we receive from Merri-bek Council that's made from the waste from our green bins, the food and organics waste, is a fantastic resource. A lot of carbon, a lot of organic matter that goes to building up the soil here, combined with the compost that we make ourselves. You know, a really brilliant resource for the garden, and it produces fantastic crops, as you can see behind me.
Well, obviously it's really important to compost food. If it's just going into the normal bin, then it's creating all these really bad greenhouse gases and contributing to climate change. But the benefit for community gardens is that we can't generate as much compost on our own, so we need the addition of council compost to help us grow vegetables and renew the soil, so we get the best productivity from the garden.
Sometimes when we get the compost, there's contaminants in it, like plastics, biodegradable bags. Some of them are not quite suitable for the process that the compost goes through. We have to then sort through the compost and pull them out, otherwise they're going to contaminate all our vegetables and the earth that we're trying to re-nourish with the compost.
Messages go around on Facebook saying, hey, there's zucchini or cucumbers in the basket at Pentridge, and they're gone in, half an hour later. So we just like to share it with the community, because that's what it's about.
councillors and members of the gallery, and to our viewers live streaming tonight's meeting. My name's Councillor Helen Davidson. I'm the Mayor of Merri-bek City Council and the chairperson for tonight's Planning and Related Matters meeting. It's my pleasure to welcome you tonight. We are meeting on the traditional lands of the Wurundjeri Wurrung people, and I wish to pay my respects to their elders past, present and emerging, as well as to all First Nations people who have significantly contributed to the life of this city. This council meeting is being recorded and web streamed live to council's website and Facebook. The recording will also be available as video on demand. Attendees are advised that they will be recorded during the meeting. A reminder that as councillors, we will act in accordance with the Councillor Code of Conduct, which will support the principles of leadership and good governance that secures public confidence in the office of councillor. In the event of an emergency or a disruption, we may be required to take action to ensure the safety of attendees. For members of the gallery and councillors attending in person, please follow the directions issued by council staff and security officers. Councillors in attendance tonight, we have Councillor Helen Politis, the Deputy Mayor. Councillor Nadavood.
Good evening, everyone.
Councillor Sue Bolton. Councillor Liz Irvin.
Good evening, everyone.
Councillor Jay Iwasaki.
Good evening.
Councillor Chris Miles. Councillor Ella Svensson.
Hi all.
Councillor Catherine Theodosis.
Hi, everyone.
And Councillor Oscar Yildiz. And we have Councillor Adam Pulford, who has been approved to attend tonight's meeting via electronic means, and he is online.
Everyone.
I'd also like to introduce Philip Priest, Group Manager of City Development, and members of the Urban Planning team. And so there's no apologies for tonight's meeting. I'll move on to disclosures of conflict of interest. Are there any conflicts of interest to declare? No? In that case, I'll move to confirmation of previous meetings. Councillors, could I please have a motion for the confirmation of the minutes for the council meeting for planning related matters held on the 23rd of October? Councillor Chris Miles. Is there a seconder? Councillor Jay Iwasaki. All those in favour? I declare that carried. I'll just give a brief introduction before we move on to the reports for consideration. I'll outline how tonight's meeting for planning and related matters will run. For the item in relation to a planning permit application, the relevant planner will introduce the report and the officer's recommendations. I will then give any objectors the opportunity to make their submission. After this time, the applicant will be given the opportunity to speak. If you are making a submission, please clearly state your name for the record. You're required to present your viewpoints clearly and concisely on why you support or oppose the planning application. Please do not repeat what earlier speakers have said and keep the discussion focused on relevant issues or points that have not been previously raised. If you're opposed to the planning application, please inform the meeting why you are opposed and the suggested alternative approach which would satisfy your concerns. Please use this opportunity to focus on your concerns rather than matters of detail in the officer's report. And there is a time limit of 3 minutes for each objector and the permit applicant. And as chairperson, I reserve the right to reduce or increase the time available to any speaker. So we've got 2 reports this evening. The first report is City Development Activity Report for the September quarter. Does any councillor have a conflict of interest? No. Councillors, could I please have a motion to move 5.1 City Development Activity Report for September? Thank you, Councillor Bolton. And is there a seconder? Councillor Theodosis, thank you. Councillor Bolton, do you wish to speak to the report?
For people online who might be wondering what this report is all about, it's a record of what sort of work council's been doing around planning applications, what how many planning applications have been received, how many enforcement actions have been taken, how many cases have gone to VCAT, how many were found in council's favour or against council. So it's sort of really a statement about all of the planning activity that's happening in Merri-bek over the last quarter, but it's late because of the council elections, the caretaker period and so forth. Normally it would have been tabled earlier. But for anyone who's a bit interested to know what's been happening, it's worthwhile reading. What it does indicate is there has been a decline in development applications, but anyway, up to people if they want to read it.
Thank you very much, Councillor Bolton. Councillor Theodosis, do you wish to add anything further? No. Thank you. If there's no further speakers, I'll put that to the vote. All those in favour? I declare that carried. Now, the next item that we have on our agenda this evening is 5.2, 251 to 265 Lygon Street and 1A Pitt Street, Brunswick East, a ministerial application, PPE 2024 362. I'll now ask Alex, Principal Urban Planner, to present the report.
Thank you, Mayor. Good evening, councillors and gallery. This matter relates to an application at 251 to 265 Lygon Street and 1A Pitt Street, Brunswick East. The responsible authority for this proposal will be the Department of Transport and Planning, so the purpose of tonight's recommendation is to inform Council's position on the application. The site has a frontage to Lygon Street in the east and Evans Street to the north and is currently occupied by 3 attached double-storey buildings. The surrounding area is currently undergoing substantial change given its designation within the Brunswick Activity Centre. Building heights generally range from 1 to 8 storeys proximate to the site. The site is located within the Commercial 1 zone and is subject to the Design and Development Overlay Schedule 19 and the Parking Overlay. The site is within an area designated for significant housing growth. DDO 19 includes discretionary controls for building heights and upper level setbacks. The proposal is for a Part 5, Part 8 storey building comprising 109 dwellings, 4 retail tenancies, 103 car parking spaces, 146 bicycle parking spaces, and it's under a build-to-rent model which includes an affordable housing offering. The Minister instructed the applicant to give public notice by sending notices to the properties indicated on the notice map on your screen and placing 2 signs on the site. At the request of Council, all parties to the previous VCAT appeal at this site were also provided notice. As of the 10th of September, the Minister had received 46 objections. There are a range of issues raised in these, including height and scale, overshadowing and loss of natural daylight, traffic and congestion, neighbourhood character, and various other issues. Key considerations for this application relate to building height, material quality and affordable housing. It is recommended that Council's submission to the Minister for Planning be that a planning permit should be issued subject to conditions which seek to require the deletion of 1 level to be less harmful on the public realm, improve the material palette to a more robust treatment, and improve the affordable housing offering to benefit low-income renters.
Thanks very much for that, Alex. We have 4 objectors who wish to speak tonight, and online we have Jeffrey Milne. Hi, Jeffrey. Hi, Jeffrey.
Hi,
Hi,
can you hear
please.
me?
Yes, we can. Please go ahead.
Right. Thank you.
Oh, yes, Jeffrey, please go ahead.
Oh, I
Yes.
see. Sorry. Yes. Hi, welcome, and thank you very much for providing me this opportunity. My name's Jeffrey Milne. I live at number 93 Evans Street, Brunswick, where my partner and I have lived for the past 26 years. And this evening I'm representing a number of residents of Evans Street who have to date been engaged in their concerns about aspects of the development proposed on the corner of Evans, Lygon and Pitt Streets. Of course, this, as we know, represents a very significant change to the landscape and has, we believe, very significant we have significant concerns about amenity arising from such a significant development in this location. More specifically, we're concerned with the issues that will continue to arise. We already have very significant issues around parking, around safety, pedestrian safety, and around driver behaviour in Evans Street. And we believe that there needs to be measures taken in this development to reduce the impact of the likely rise in these issues through visitations and new residents using Evans Street as a means to access and to visit the new development. Needless to say, there's also concerns around the actual size, shape, number of dwellings that are being proposed in the proposal, and we are calling for a reduction from the 8 to 7 and 4 levels, respectively, for the development, with a view to reducing some of the amenity and visibility, overshadowing, all that kind of stuff that goes with these developments. I understand that it is indeed proposing to be in excess by some 40% above the current Merri-bek recommendation for height limits.
Thank you, Jeffrey. If you could just wind up.
Yep. So we call on the council to oppose the permit and retain the limit of 7 and 4 stories respectively. Move to have the loading zone entry point in Lygon Street from access from Lygon Street and not Evans or Pitt, and to ensure that there's physical barriers that would prevent left turns out of the driveway and into Evans Street, so vehicles may access directly Lygon Street and not the extremely narrow and dangerous and inconvenient path through Evans Street.
Thank you.
Very much.
Yes, thanks very much, Jeffrey. We'll now move on to our next objector, who is in person, Andrea Bunting.
Thank you, Mayor and councillors. Andrea Bunting from Randazzo Ward. So I was one of the large group of residents who went to VCAT about this proposal, seeking changes to reduce the local impact. The developer went to VCAT proposing a 7-storey building and a 4-storey building. and VCAT approved that. The developer is now asking the Minister to approve an extra storey on both buildings. So I understand 46 people have put in objections to the Minister, which is great, and I have 3 specific things to ask of the Council today. Firstly, and Jeffrey mentioned this, about reducing, sorry, you've talked about deleting a level in your submission. Could we please clarify that it is a level on both buildings, returning it to the 7-storey and the 4-storey that VCAT basically approved, because that's not really clear. Second and third matters relate to some specific measures to reduce the traffic impact on the residential end of Evans Street, which is to the west of the site. So this includes reducing the number of cars, delivery trucks and waste vehicles. We note that the building driveway crossover is on Evans Street, and we understand that is council policy. The building lobby is also on Evans Street, which we argued against. That encourages pickups, drop-offs and deliveries to occur there. We would like that to be changed. If it can't, we have another suggestion. Okay, so Evans Street is very narrow, even by Brunswick standards. It's 6.7 metres. There's not even enough room for, there's a lot of side swiping going on. And there's very few places for oncoming traffic to pass. Even the footpaths are very narrow, so it's a very narrow street. So the proposed development is planning to double the amount of traffic in Evans Street, in this very narrow street. So we would like that new traffic to be confined to the smallest possible area, which is between Lygon Street and the driveway, the crossover for the building. So, and the developer has agreed it's an issue. They want to resolve it with signage, including a right turn arrow for drivers exiting to direct them just to Lygon Street. But their traffic report admits that it won't work. So if you look on page 41, they state the traffic will go the other direction as well, to the residential areas in the west. So we would like this, rather than just signage, which everyone knows is not going to work, even the developer, we request a physical street treatment, such as a curb outstand, which would provide a physical barrier, at least for those exiting the building, so they have to turn right as per the painted arrow. And we understand the developer is not opposed to this. Certainly he told us that after the VCAT case.
Andre, if you could wind up.
The last issue is a loading zone. The loading zone is proposed to be on Pitt Street. It is a long way from the entrance. It will not be used. The deliveries will therefore occur on Evans Street, which we don't want. We request that this is a council issue. Please put a loading zone on Lygon Street near Evans Street so that it is practical for deliveries to occur near the lobby of the building.
Thank you.
Thank you for that.
Thanks very much. We now have Matthew, who has requested to speak tonight as well. Please come forward, Matthew.
Hello.
Hi, Matthew. Sorry, I wasn't quite sure of your surname.
My surname is Kuna, K-U-N-A.
I'm
actually the resident and owner of 113 Evans Street. So I live opposite the crossover that we're talking about. So I'm one of the residents that's directly affected by the transport and movement of vehicles within this area.
Yes.
So as Andrea has intimated, our intent is actually to move the building lobby to Lygon Street, as is most buildings along Lygon Street, and to ensure that the loading zone is in an area which is not going to cause extra traffic congestion within the area. As we all know, Evans Street is actually 6.7 metres wide and is subject to multiple vehicle damage in the area, so the street is just too narrow. So we are actually advocating for the building lobby to move to Lygon Street.
Right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks very much for your submission. And Nick Dolby, please come forward.
G'day, Nick Dolby, West Brunswick. Apropos the council report on city development, is it true, for instance, that we've seen a long-term decline in VCAT applications from Merri-bek Council, not only because of the decrease in development activity and the rise of cost of VCAT, but also because there has been officer time and energy spent on getting objectors and developers together and work through issues. Coming to Lygon Street and Pitt Street, I'm a bit pessimistic about this. This is a Minister of Planning call-in. How many times has the Minister of Planning in the last, say, 5 years actually paid attention to what you, the councillors, have decided here in this room? In regards to the recommendation, I concur. I support the officer recommendation. The social housing component is pretty pathetic. And I personally would argue that I'd like to see activation of the Evans Street frontage for either retail or office space. Thank you for your consideration.
Thanks very much, Nick. Appreciate that. Now, we do not have any speakers in support. So, councillors, could I please have a motion for... yes?
There are two questions raised by people who made submissions. One, I'd like to find out, one question that was raised was about whether or not the reduction of one level was to both buildings or just to one building. It would be just good to let people know, members of the public, but also the question of whether or not consideration was made to shifting the building lobby to Lygon Street.
Thank you, Councillor Bolton. Through the Director.
That's the lobby rather than the driveway. Yeah.
Thank you, Councillor Bolton, and through the Mayor. In answering the first question, condition 1B of the officer recommendation seeks the deletion of one level from the podium of the building, being levels 4, 5 or 6. So that is a reference to the Lygon Street building or the Eastern building. The recommendation to Council tonight is consistent with the recommendations that officers made when the earlier application was lodged with Council and then proceeded to VCAT. And as part of that recommendation, Council's position was in relation to the reduction of one level from the Eastern building, that Council's submission and its case to VCAT didn't seek a further reduction or reduction in level of the 5-storey building to Pitt Street. So yes, clarity being the recommendation is consistent with the previous report to Council and Council's previous position on the matter, and the reduction of one level relates to the Lygon Street building only. In relation to the question in respect to the lobby, I might ask if Alex can maybe reference the plan, because I think that might help with answering that question. What I would also add, councillors, is this is an unusual situation, I guess, in that the application is before the Minister of Planning. So the application has not been gone for a public notice through Council. There hasn't been advertising of the proposal by Council. So Council officers and councillors haven't got the benefit of receiving and considering the objections from the community, and therefore the report before you doesn't respond to any objections from the community because those objections have been lodged with the Minister.
Yeah.
But I think we can explain the lobby side of things on the plans, which may be helpful.
Thank you, Alex.
Thanks, Phil. Councillor Bolton, can I just confirm, were you asking whether it could be relocated to Lygon Street?
Yeah, that was what two of the objections displayed.
Look, it probably could. There's 4 commercial tenancies. The one in the northeast is quite large, but to relocate the lobby, you would need to create sort of a corridor or allocate a space of that retail tenancy to access the residential component behind it.
Thank you. Councillors, is there a councillor who wishes to move a motion in relation to this? Councillor Irvin.
Yes, could I move, I guess, the amendment that Phil prepared earlier?
Yes, And we will get that up on the screen. And is there a seconder? Thank you, Councillor Iwasaki. Councillor Irvin, do you wish to speak to this? Please go ahead.
Yes, as this proposed development sits in Randazzo Ward, I welcome the opportunity to speak to this item. Overall, I support high quality, medium density, mixed use developments. Our activity centres already contain services and amenities and good accessibility by quality public transport, walking and bike riding. So increasing density in these locations allows more people to live close to these convenient services and amenities. And as other people have referred to, I guess to give some background to this item, we're not the decision maker here. It has gone to VCAT and a permit has previously been issued. And this is now with the Minister for Planning, with some changes to that previous decision. So tonight we're working out Council's submission for the Minister to consider. I've met with residents to discuss their concerns with this development, including the impact of the building height and the impact of traffic from the development on nearby streets. I support the officer recommendation for the development to reduce the 8-storey part to 7 storeys, as previously approved by VCAT. And I'm proposing this amendment to modify the design to the crossover on Evans Street and install a curb outstand immediately to the west of that access. So this will encourage drivers to access the site to and from the east, so towards the Lygon Street end of the street. Evans Street is very narrow and I support attempts to limit additional traffic using this street to access the development. Regardless of whether our recommendation is adopted by the Minister in her decision, I'm willing to continue the conversation with residents to investigate how Council can mitigate the traffic impacts separately to this planning application. This could be through changes to the streetscape, the direction of travel, or parking restrictions on the street, depending on the views of residents. I note that this application is eligible for consideration by the Minister due to its inclusion of affordable housing. And while this inclusion is an improvement, it is inadequate in our current housing crisis. I'm pleased to see that officers are recommending an increase to at least a 35% discount for 15 years, but would love to see more. I understand other councillors may move an amendment to increase this in our submission, and I would support that. I thank the officers for their work in preparing Council's submission to the Minister. I'm happy to support this recommendation with the amendment regarding site access. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Councillor Saki, do you wish to add anything further? No? Are there any further speakers? Councillor Bolton.
I've got an amendment around the affordable housing part of the proposal, which I'd like to move.
We'll just bring that up on the screen and then we'll check if it's acceptable to the mover and seconder.
And also, I'd just like to alert you that I'd also like to move an amendment around shifting the building lobby to Lygon Street. I was unaware of that issue until I heard the submissions, but the wording for that isn't prepared. I don't know if it's possible to be prepared in the timeline.
Do you have a proposal?
Maybe we could we deal with the affordable housing first? And on the building lobby, I hadn't formulated words, but it seems pretty simple that it could be done and it could be shifted. I'm not sure which part of the amendment, part of the permit it should go.
Okay. Now I'll just check if the amendment that you're referring to now is acceptable to the mover and to the seconder. Yes? Okay, that's fine. Councillor Bolton, go ahead.
Cool. Maybe I might leave my speaking till a little bit later to see if it's possible to do some wording on the building lobby.
Yeah.
If you want to speak in debate, though.
Yes.
Thank you. Through the Mayor. So we'll see if we can provide you some words very shortly that you can then potentially speak to, understanding what the amendment is seeking.
Okay,
So
you're
see
just
if we can-
shifting it around into Lygon Street, along the lines of what the planning officer suggested. So I'll speak to the amendment in particular that I'm moving, which is, I feel the affordable housing that's being proposed by this developer is totally inadequate. Not only the percentage of affordable housing that's being offered, and not just the limited time frame of 15 years, but the fact that it's 25% of market rent, so it's not 25% of your income, it's 25% of market rent. And I saw a figure in their the developers' or applicants' housing document, which mentioned something like $618 a week. So 5% of that would make the housing of this build-to-rent model totally unaffordable for the vast majority of people. But my amendment, we can't sort of overturn all of that, is to require the affordable housing dwellings to be provided in perpetuity, so that if the building's sold to a new owner, new owner of the build-to-rent model, that the affordable housing is passed on. Secondly, to require the affordable housing offering to be spread across all of the different apartment types. The developer currently doesn't indicate if they're only giving this discount to people in studio apartments or one-bedroom flats or two-bedroom flats or whatever. They did indicate that family-sized apartments of 3 and 4 bedrooms would be excluded. So, yeah, I'm proposing that. I think it's good the council officers have recommended that it be 35% of the market rent rather than 35% discount, but I still believe that this whole model is totally unaffordable and a fake affordable housing. In terms of the overall proposal, I'm actually against the overall proposal. I argued against it when it previously came to council. Council can't, it's not realistic for council to really revisit all of that history, but I certainly don't think a developer who's been to VCAT, didn't like the outcome, so then appealing to the minister to let them go extra levels above the height limit should be rewarded.
Thank you, Councillor Bolton. I'll just check on how the wording is going for the additional amendment regarding the lobby. Yep. It should have come to your emails now, Councillor Bolton. And before we progress with that part of the amendment, I'll just check whether that's agreeable to the mover or seconder. Yes, great, thank you. We're just seeing if it's come up. Sorry, we're just working on sending that email through. It won't take long at all. Yep, and that should be there in a second. You've got it? Great.
Yep.
Okay, Councillor Bolton?
Yep. Perfect, thanks.
So we can get that on screen as well. And if you could read that out, Councillor Bolton, for the benefit of the gallery and those at home.
I'm moving an extra amendment to 1U, that the building entry lobby be relocated to the Lygon Street frontage and any consequential changes to the retail layout.
Thank you, Councillor Bolton. Are there any speakers in relation to this? No. If there's no speakers, the amendments have been incorporated into the substantive motion. So I'll now put that to the vote. All those in favour? All those against? Yes. And are you calling for a division or just for your vote to be recorded? Yeah, just for Councillor Bolton's no vote to be recorded. So I declare that carried, and I'll now ask council officers to take us through the next steps.
Thank you, Mayor. The Council has resolved to support the application for the development of a Part 8, Part 5-storey building, use of the land for dwellings and a reduction in the car parking requirements subject to the conditions contained within the alternate motion. The next step is that officers will write to the Department of Transport and Planning to advise them of Council's position in accordance with tonight's decision.
Wonderful. Thanks very much, Alex. Councillors, we've come to the end of the meeting tonight. I'd like to thank those who were watching live streaming for your interest in council planning matters, and for the attendees in the gallery and for the objectors who came tonight. I'd like to wish you all a very Merry Christmas. This is our last council meeting for the year. Have a wonderful and a safe new year ahead, and we look forward to seeing you all when we return in 2025. And I declare the meeting closed to the public at 7:09. Thank you.